And we're going to call to order the meeting, the committee meeting of the whole, 6:47, special meeting of the whole. Special board meeting, 6:47. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Burns? Here. Trustee Carter?
Here.
Trustee Coleman?
Here.
Trustee Johnson? Here. Trustee Sapp, absent with notice. Trustee Williams. I'm sorry.
All right, the special meeting is for B&F agreement approved by the board. This is an amendment to it. So at this time, I'll direct it to those administrative Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Board Trustees, Clerk. What you have before you is an amendment or an errata to the B&F Code Construction contract that you all approved a week ago today. So in that, there was an error in which we missed the proposal dated January 5th. The January 5th proposal is what covers the actual inspection services, plan review, and all of the primary responsibilities that you all agreed to bring B&F Code Construction on for. And it only had the code enforcement piece in the agreement. So this is just including that other proposal in the contract, so we will have a complete package here. Have you taken any questions on that? So,
Trustee Williams.
The resolution last week with only the packet that we had, but no changes in the price or anything.
there's no changes. This is the entire presentation that you all received at the February 20th Committee of the Whole meeting. It just was an error on my part. I did not include one of the proposals, and it was omitted in the agreement that was approved. So I just wanted to bring it back before you to make sure that everything was
No
correct.
changes.
And no changes were made.
Just an additional document.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I was looking for another approval, another vote to approve this amended agreement.
Any other questions? No, the special board meeting, we're going to vote on it now.
Well, yeah, we're looking for approval today. Services agreement.
It's the board meeting. Any other questions? Okay, I'm asking for a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the execution of an agreement by and between the Village of Sauk Village and B&F Construction Code Services. Moved by Trustee Johnson, second by Trustee Carter. Are there any questions? Madam Clerk.
Trustee Burns? Yes. Trustee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee Coleman?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson? Yes. Trustee Sapp? Trustee Williams? Yes.
All right, motion carried. I don't have my gavel, but at this time I'll ask for this meeting only, public comment for the special meeting be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the agenda items only. Each speaker is allowed up to one opportunity to speak for 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter. I don't have my gavel. It may not engage in debate, counter replies, and rebuttals. I will respond to all questions once all comments have been made. When you come up, please state your name. Okay. All right, moving along. Any comments from the trustees? I'll start with Trustee Williams. Trustee Coleman. Trustee Burns? Trustee Johnson?
No.
Trustee Carter? Okay. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Johnson, second by trustee Coleman. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Carter? Yes. Trustee Coleman? Yes. Trustee Johnson? Yes. Trustee Sack? Trustee Williams? Yes. Trustee Lawrence? Yes.
Motion carried. We'll be back at in about 8 minutes for the committee meeting. This meeting has been adjourned. I'm going to call the committee of a whole meeting to order.
Trustee Burns. Trustee Carter. Trustee Coleman. Trustee Johnson. Trustee Sack. Absent with notice. Trustee Williams.
All right. Discussing the presentations. We'll start with the village administrator. We have a few presentations that will be talking for the board this time, so I'm going to go away and
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees. First up, we're going to get a presentation, have discussion with our insurance rep, Mr. Cliff Taylor. I'd invite him up now to share with you the workers' compensation and our general liability premium renewal presentation. So, as you all know, Mr. Taylor has been giving us some competitive rates. He has a mixed bag of announcements for us here, and I'll let him share the good and bad things with you.
Thank you, Village Administrator. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Trustees.
Mike's not on.
Sauk Village. As we coming in this time of year, we deal with our general liability renewal for our insurance program. It continues to be a tough market. We are continuing to see carriers pull out of Cook County. We are continuing to see carriers reduce limits, increase retentions, and increase premium. Sauk Village, of course, is not immune to it, as well as the rest of the Cook County as a whole. It's been tough. It's been a tough 3 to 4 years, I'll say since COVID. Retentions are going down. So, we go through our whole process that we do every year, going to the marketplace, going to every carrier that we're entertained or is in this market in terms of insuring municipalities. So as I go through the renewal, we'll talk about what the increases are. There are some changes that they are wanting to have in terms of increasing their retentions. So what I try to do is go through all of the different options. I try to give an option that matches as close as possible to what we currently have. Then I try to do an option that gives the best price. And then see if that's the option we want to do, we can buy up from there and try to get to where we need to be from a budget standpoint. So without further ado, if we go to the first page, which is the executive summary, I'm not going to go through the entire proposal. I'm going to concentrate on the executive summary, our current structure, recommended structures moving forward, and then we'll get to the premium summary, and then we can have discussion from there if you guys don't mind. Okay, in terms of the executive summary, I'm going to paraphrase here. We're pleased to present this year's renewal terms to the Village of Sauk Village. These last several years have seen the insurance marketplace in tremendous turmoil. In particular, the public insurance market faces additional challenges with the national trend of excessive law enforcement and public officials litigation. These challenges include insurers exiting the marketplace, significantly reducing capacity or excluding certain coverages. At Sauk Village, we have seen several claims develop adversely since this time last year, which is also impacting the renewal. We have tried to be strategic and thoughtful in our approach. We provide a full marketing effort in the following pages, as well as several options that can mitigate costs. While we would never like to present increases, we are confident that the terms outlined here are the best possible terms available in today's marketplace. If we can go to page 4, and this is our marketing results page. This page includes all of the carriers, including our incumbent carrier that we went to. It shows which markets declined, which ones quoted, which ones that we recommend to stay with. And as you can see, we have an exhaustive list here. We went to everyone and all the different lines of coverage to try to make sure we were getting the best rates possible. We discussed this a little bit last year. A lot of times when we see decline, don't take it as personal as why they're declining us. A lot of times with these carriers, if they can't be competitive, they would rather not put out a number. So they just decline. So a lot of times it's just that. We go to the next page, page 5. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, they declined due to they looked at our loss run. So when we go out to market, we provide a 10-year loss run, which basically shows all of the losses from the village for the last 10 years. Some carriers will go, hey, a lot of times they use losses, but a lot of times what it is they want a minimum required premium. And if it's too high, then they'll say losses a lot of times too. So the amount of claims that we've had over the last 10 years, exactly. Okay, on page 5, this is our, what we call in the insurance industry, towers, but basically it explains our current structure for our insurance program. As you can see, our first $5 million of coverage is through our primary carrier, which is Liberty Mutual. Then we have our excess carrier for an additional $5 million, which gets us a total of $10 million. That's with Homesite. On the law enforcement part, that's been broken down between Liberty, Kinsale, and Indian Harbor, which makes up that $10 million. And that's for all lines of coverage, except with law enforcement, which of course has its own carriers for the 2 excess lines. One of the things that I want to mention is with the Homesite excess liability policy. At renewal, they will exclude sexual abuse coverage. And that's not just Sauk Village, that's across the board of all their insurers that are excluding sexual abuse across the board with the entire carrier. Okay? I did provide, so within that coverage, it's all lines of coverage that affect the municipality, including sexual abuse coverage. Sexual abuse coverage is if someone messes with someone else or a child or something like that, a suit is filed. They no longer cover that line of coverage. All other lines are fine, but not that particular line. And again, this is a carrier decision across the board, so it's not specific to you guys. What we were able to do, which you will see later in the proposal, we were able to go out there and find standalone carriers that could provide that to get us back up to that 5 million, to get us to 10 million. And if that's something you so choose, we can put that coverage in place. If you don't take any additional coverage, Liberty Mutual still has you covered for sexual abuse for that first 5 million. The first 5 million. So Liberty Mutual, that's your primary carrier. Their coverage remains the same. It's the excess carrier that's excluding the sexual abuse. Okay? So if we do nothing, you'll still have 5 million in that particular line. And Liberty will cover up to that first 5, exactly. Okay, this is where things get not so good. Option 1, and this is where we went with the lowest amount of coverage if we did nothing to keep premium down. We had a difference in the SIRs, as you can see. We still can get up to $10 million of coverage with the exception of sexual abuse, but if you look at the SIRs, the one that glares out is law enforcement. They want to go from 500,000 on our SIR to 2 million. Excuse me? So SIR is self-insured retention. Look. So SIR means self-insured retention. Look at it like a deductible. It's what you're responsible for, what the village is responsible for before their insurance kicks in. But when you get into these amounts of a deductible, you're basically partially self-insured up to a dollar amount, and then the reinsurance carrier kicks in to cover their amount up to their limit. So it's basically terminology. Okay? So we're currently at $500,000 for law enforcement. They want to increase it to $2 million. We do have options in there to bring it back down to 5, but of course that would be with additional costs. So what we did here is we did an option that you will see in the premium summary where we try to get things back to almost what we have now and what that will cost, like I mentioned earlier. Then we went with this low option where this is the one that gives you the best cost from a financial standpoint. Okay. You go to page 7, that's option 2. That's the one I just mentioned. This is trying to get the numbers back down to what we currently have. And as you can see on this one, the law enforcement is back down to the $500,000. All of the other ones basically remain the same. I think that's employee liabilities, there was an increase there, and we were able to get that one down as well. And that's an option 2 on the property where it was $100,000, but that's the low option. That's getting it back up on the high option as well. So, and again, we're going to go through the different options because you guys might say, hey, we want to try to keep as close as we got now. It'll be a price for that. Or we can start the lower options and we can say what's the most important and just add on from there. Any questions so far before I get to the premium summary page? Okay. So if we can go to, hold on 1 second here. Page 20. Okay. So this is the premium summary page, which explains all of the different limits and where we're at in terms of premium. To your far left column is our current plan and where we're currently at. The premium for this year was $692,099. We provided 2 options here. We provided a low option and a high option. If you went with the low option that I showed that had all of the increased SIRs that we spoke about, all of that, you see a premium increase of $869,000. Again, that's the low option. If you went with option 2, which is the high option, which brings all of our SIRs back down to where we're currently at, or close as possible, you see their premium is $1.1 million. Now, we can take the low option and option 1 and we can say, hey, we can't do 1.1 million. You say, Cliff, but we are concerned about law enforcement, right? You can keep that low option and you can add back on the law enforcement to bring that SIR down and then leave the other lines on where they're at on the low option. So we can buy up from the low, or you can go with the high option and get everything to where we're currently at now, or as close as possible.
So you're saying that the officers, the police, they're the ones that want to go from 500,000 to 2 million?
That particular coverage, yes.
Okay, and so you're saying that if we don't go with the higher option and go with the lower option, we can add the 2 million onto that and probably...
We'll get it back down to 5. So we can reduce that SIR from 2 million to 5 and just do the law enforcement as opposed to doing everything else across the board when we had other changes. You kind of follow me? So you can do the low option. How can I explain it? Look at a car. You buy a car now and you get one basic $20,000. You add on the power windows, it's going to cost this. You add on the additional sound system, it's going to cost this. So that's kind of why I wanted to show the 2 different options. I want to show a budget-friendly one and wanted to show, hey, if we want to keep everything where we're at, that's where it's going to be. And then we can kind of pick, like the village administrator Tim said, kind of a la carte, and then we can, hey, let's buy up on this one, let's buy up on this one to try to get closer to the ones that you all see deem most important.
Right, but the 1.1 million, that's everything?
That would be everything
and then
at the high level.
869,000, then we can a la carte that if we don't want to quite get to the 1.1.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. For example, if we went with the 869, and then you wanted to bring that SIR down to 500,000 on the law enforcement, that would be an additional 110,000. So, and then all the other ones would stay where they're at, but we got the law enforcement back down, which is probably the more important one, of course, because that's where you see a bulk of your claims, all right? So, let's see. This one we talked about was sexual abuse. Right now, like I said, if we did nothing, it'd be at a $5 million limit. We can get back to that 10 million for 66,000 additional. We can get it to 8 million for 45,000 additional. So those are two different options there. Or if you're okay with the 5 million, you can keep it at 5 and you don't do any of that, and then you save that on that premium. Any questions so far? No additional questions? Yes, sir.
The question was, what type of claims are you seeing out there for sexual conduct as relates to municipalities as far as payouts are concerned and judgments?
I won't say it is high on the totem pole. You do see them. And when you do see them, those settlements are usually pretty high, of course. To me, the most ones that you see is going to be in law enforcement and your employee practice liability. That's what I see the most out of all municipalities. Do you see sexual abuse? Oh, yeah, you do see it every now and then. But I can say I see it all the time. I do not see it all the time. I don't understand why Home Site did what they did, so whatever's going across their board of business throughout the nation, they saw an increase when they got hit with a really big claim from a client, and they made the unanimous decision because, again, we don't see Liberty taking away sexual abuse. We don't see any of the other carriers, just Home Site. So it's something more so probably what's going on with their book of business on why they decided to exclude that coverage. However, they were still the most competitive in terms of premium, which is why we still recommend them for the other lines, and then buying a standalone as opposed to going to another carrier to cover it all. That would have been more expensive. So it was easier and cheaper to a la carte.
And you're saying that the sexual abuse that you have witnessed has been an officer abusing another?
Oh, not necessarily. Sexual abuse is basically, it could be any employee that may do some type of sexual infraction in terms of...
To another employee?
Whether the employee, you run a child care center or day camp or stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's nothing specific to Sauk Village. It's just sexual abuse can be a number of different things. Not necessarily just employee on employee. Any additional questions?
Yes. Is this the only time of year that you can present to us for our renewal? Can we change our renewal date?
Renewals are usually 12 months, and this is kind of the date where we're at now. It would be kind of hard, not saying it's not impossible, but this is usually the date, and once you decide on coverage and choose it, it's for that 12-month period. It's paid for annually, basically.
Right, but if we need to, we could change that. Say, for instance, we wanted to do a start in April,
Okay.
or May.
Okay.
So from May to May, is that something?
Probably, because we're not talking a whole lot of time there, but usually to get a carrier to move like that for a month may be kind of difficult. If you were trying to change something, saying you wanted to go with something more mid-year or January 1 or something like that, then that's something we probably have to look at on what we could do. But is it possible? Yes.
Okay, because I was thinking make it more towards our fiscal year,
Got it.
beginning of our fiscal year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? When is our deadline? So we can have it on.
So we have your regular council meeting next week, and the renewal is on the 27th, so that's exactly the next day.
Okay.
So if I had to ask the trustees here, what are you thinking after what you're hearing so far in terms of which way you may want to go?
Trustee Williams?
I think we say the same thing to you. Why do we always get it at the last minute?
Okay.
We have 4 new trustees. 4 new trustees that obviously this is the first time they've ever seen this.
Okay,
So hopefully if they have any questions, I'll reach out to you.
okay.
But why can't we get it sooner than, you get it today and then next week gotta approve it?
Okay. So every year we go out as early as possible. Unfortunately, we have no control when the carriers and the underwriters get back to us. And we've been seeing this trend happening since we've started seeing these uptick in premiums. And of course, with an increase like this, I'm continuing to go to carriers, I'm continuing to negotiate, I'm continuing to have Zoom calls to try to get us the best rates possible. But I have to wait for the underwriters and the carriers to get back to me. We started this process in January. And we're up to this moment still trying to make sure we're getting the best rates possible. So it's really a lot of times out of our control. We can start it as far out as we want to. Is when the carriers decide, hey, they want to start. And with carriers doing what they're doing now, pulling out of the market, reducing limits, it just makes it even harder now because it's not just me, it's other brokers and other clients and other stuff all throughout the region here that are going back and forth with these underwriters trying to get the best deal for their client. So unfortunately, it does go deeper into the process, getting closer to your renewal time. Do apologize for that, but that's just because the work is continuing to be done to try to make sure that I'm putting the village in the best possible position. That involves wrongful termination, things of that nature as it relates to employment. And that's APLI is always included with public officials coverage too. So public officials is of course you guys, and then employment practices is wrongful terminations and things in that area.
So the premium ends March 27th?
Yes, that's your renewal date. That's your actual renewal date.
And so if for some reason we're still trying to figure this out, as far as how we want to go with it, if we pass March 27th, do we have a grace period and yet still be covered?
No, we have to make a decision on March
So the March
26th
27th,
because it's
26th.
midnight on the 27th. Yes.
We have no coverage?
Yes. Yes. But again, I'm here. I know it is a week. I know it's not a lot of time, but I am available to you guys for any questions or concerns you got during the course of this week. Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And by all means, if there are any questions that Cliff, CC, send them to Cliff, CC me, and we certainly will make sure you get a response as soon as possible so you can make an informed decision. That's all that.
Any other questions? Okay, so right now, I'm just guessing that option one is the more viable one? Or option
Well, that's for you guys to determine from a budgetary
And
standpoint.
the SIR for option one for the law enforcement is 2 million.
Right.
So that means we're liable for the first one.
That's exactly correct. And that's why I kind of mentioned the whole, if you went that route and then bought up on the law enforcement piece to get that back down to $500,000, that's an additional $110,000 to that
Then you
869.
back up to
Exactly.
1.1.
Exactly. So you see the bulk of the cost is in the law enforcement
Yeah.
because you're almost back at
Well, that's-
1 million, so you're about another 100 and you get everything. So
That's
yes.
almost liable.
Yes, yes.
And that's one that's the most visible is our law enforcement. So they deal with day to day. Trustee Coleman. The mic's not on.
Okay, Cliff, you gave us the a la carte approach to option one, that being an additional $110,000. Would that be added to the total, giving it a rough total of $979,000?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
Yep, yes, sir.
Because it's not reflected there, so.
Right, yeah, that's why when I did both options. And then if you look on page 21, it kind of spells out a little bit, hey, if you bought this is additional, this is what this will cost. If you did this additional, that's what this was cost. So,
Okay, thanks.
yeah, no problem. Yes, ma'am.
How do we know what we actually did in the past year? So we know where we are in a lot of, do we have some type of summary of what we actually incurred during that year?
You mean in terms of actual losses?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Can we see that? So we know what we're actually comparing it
So
to?
that's something that you with the mayor and village administrator, because a lot of this stuff is in litigation, which is why I try not to get into to that because of that, but that is something that with you and the mayor, you guys
I
can.
mean, it would help us to know.
Oh, absolutely.
From past experience, what we need to do for future.
Right.
So if that's what we need to do, I mean, I would do that, and I'm sure the others would like to do it as well.
Okay. Oh, no problem.
That'd be
But-
something that we would just make an appointment individually with the village administrator? Okay. See if it could be resolved in executive session, or if we could do it individually by meeting. Okay, I would appreciate that.
Important to note that that the claim history, they look at the last 10 years. So
10 years?
one year may not necessarily.
I'd like to see the last 10 years anyway. I mean, I'm sure you have some type of record, or do you?
I don't.
You don't, because of what overall is, but do you think the village has maybe even the last 2 or 3 years? I mean, I don't know if you even know, because I don't think I've had the opportunity to look into it.
Here now, at least 8 years.
Yeah,
Yeah, almost 8 years
Yeah.
now. So, yeah, so we would have it. But again, we would just go to the TPA and get the loss run that we,
that's all we need. We
Exactly.
don't need the individual information, we
Right.
just need the bottom line. So we know what we really think we may need, rather than get more than what we need.
Gotcha.
Paid for more.
Yes. Understood.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, then we'll, hopefully, if there's any more information or any more questions, we'll forward them to you. But we'll still put this on the agenda for next week. And if it doesn't happen, or if there's something that, I don't even know how to say it, because if we don't put it on the agenda, then we'll lose these prices. And I do know that.
Lose coverage, yeah.
Yeah, well, that too. So, but I'm just asking the trustees, if you have any questions, please, so we can resolve this before next Tuesday, because it will be on the agenda at that time. Okay? Thank you so much.
That's it. Thank you all. And again, I am here and I'm available to you. I know this is not good news all the time to have to share, but that's my job to be here for you guys. So whatever questions you may have, share with the village administrator, and I'll be sure to get with you right away, because I know this is of utmost importance.
And Mayor, I wanted to say one thing. And you come every March, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
About a week before we have to make a decision. So, because we have to make a decision by next week, can we sit down together and make our timeline different? Because the trustees would definitely like you to come way before March. So somehow, some way, you're going to have to be able to come before us a week before cancellation.
Okay. And just as I explained to Trustee Williams, I absolutely can, but that does not mean that I will have, a lot of times, again, it's when the carriers decide to come to me as we negotiate. So could I come to you in February? Absolutely, but I'll probably have preliminary numbers, or not a lot of it at all. It'll be a half-baked policy, so I won't be showing you true numbers a lot of times. And again, if it's up to me, I can have it to you guys as soon as you will want it, but it's up to when the carriers and the underwriters decide they want to pick this count up and start looking at everything and going through the underwriting process. So I'm kind of at their mercy. So
Right.
I could come in February, but I may not have everything.
No, I
that you may
understand
like.
that.
Yes.
I understand that, but I'm quite sure the carriers is not waiting until 1 week before we have
Oh,
to cancel.
you would not.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So honestly, I did reach out to him some time ago, and he had the exact same answer, knowing this date was coming, and he indicated that the rates had not come back out. He's in the market and searching for the best option for us, and fielding different options and different proposals from the carriers. So just to add a little bit more evidence, we reached out a while ago to see where we're at, and that was the response. So him coming in February wouldn't provide any more information.
Okay. Well, again, even if we can get a little bit of more information much sooner, so again, if we come in February and you show us what we have, at least we'll be able to be prepared for the different premiums. And there's a la carte, so we can build our premiums. So there are options for us before 1 week before cancellation, which forces our hands to move when I don't think we always have to move 1 week before. So it's as though the carriers just told you yesterday or 2 days ago, and now you're coming to us, and I'm sure.
Well, if I can explain that a little bit.
Giving more than 1
No,
2
I can
days.
explain that to you a little bit, of course. Again, I am not waiting last minute at all. As the village administrator said, when we started this process, his office was notified, and then we kept up throughout that process as we continued to get more information. When we look at quotes. We look at different amounts from different carriers. We have to also, my underwriting team has to take, let's say if we're gonna change a carrier, I gotta make sure that that carrier and that plan matches what you currently have, because you may have a carrier here that may cover certain things or may exclude. So now we have to do our part on our end once we finally get numbers to make sure that we are matching apples to apples. So because if something comes in cheaper, okay, what might they not be included? What is it that they may change? They may have sub-limits that may not be comparable to what you currently have. So we have to get the numbers, get their actual plan, and then make sure everything is matching. So there's a lot of legwork and stuff that goes behind the scenes. It's not just looking at numbers. So just so you're aware, again, we would never want to we're not trying to force your hand or hold your hand. I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the best deal for you. I promise you. That my integrity's on the line, man. I'm not going to risk that for anybody.
Okay. Again, thank you, Cliff. You're looking forward.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Okay, next item is the website demo from Avidity Technologies.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Marianne Thornton here today and Mark Hall. They're going to do a presentation on the website development. A bit of disclaimer, we are not at the final version at this time, but we will be able to present what we have and get some feedback from the Board of Trustees and the Mayor and all involved on the progress where we're at, if you like the direction, and provide some input. I will say that there has been some delay on our end, not on the part of the developers, as we've had some transition in departments with this and not getting information to them in a timely fashion so that they can get the demo completed. So I just wanted to put that in your ear early. And so I'll invite Marianne and Mark Hall.
Okay, I guess I need to cut this back off.
Thank you so much, Tim, and Mayor, Clerk, and trustees. It is an honor for Avidity to share with you the progress that we've made on the village website. So what you're looking at right now is the current site of Sauk Village. And as you know, the site was in need of some attention, updates to its design, as well as its content. So we spent some time getting to know the village. We came out and took pictures of the board and trustees, mayor, trustees and clerk. And we also came out with our drone and got some shots throughout your community so we can put together a beautiful site. We spent some time developing the foundation. We've been working with the administrator as well as your department heads to gather some information, and so we have been able to develop this new site for the village of Sauk. So I'm just going to refresh it real quick. And unfortunately, had some issues connecting, so we're going to try and reconnect. So now my hotspot is working again. So here's the new site. So as you can see, what we've added in here is a sign up for residents who want to receive some news on your events and happenings in the village. So this will pop up every time someone comes onto your site. Again, our team came out with our drone and we got some new shots of your community. and develop this video on your home page. So it's a nice, clean foundation. We've got some of your hot buttons here for employment opportunities, some interactive features, pay online, and services that you can take care of online, permits and forms, and then your standard meeting agendas and minutes. Here, of course, we've got your latest news, and then your event calendar, which, as you can see, is currently not populated as we're awaiting information on upcoming events. So when you go inside, real quick, take a look at the menu, a nice clean menu on how to apply for something, pay, view certain things, and then to contact. Under community, about Sauk Village, and then the residence menu. Under business, licenses, economic development information, retail business districts, local business association, facts and figures. And then, of course, under government, we have all of you, mayor, clerk, trustees, and your board meetings and agendas, and then your departments. So again, we've been trying to work with the departments to get current information. So there's still work to be done on the site within the pages, the individual pages. But let's take a look at government, for instance. So as I understand, Tim, we're going to be changing this page, and then we've got obviously some corrections to take care of. Yes. So we will be making some updates and some corrections to all of the pages. Of course, we have the clerk here. And this is all the information that we received or we were able to pull over from the existing site. And then we get into our trustees. And if you click on each trustee, you can, receive their pictures. And we get a little bit into, the committees that you...
Before you go a little further, Marianne, so this is where we would also hyperlink your bios. I did receive a bio from one of the trustees, so that request is still open for the balance of the electeds, so that they can have some more information about you and get to know you all based on what you want to share.
And we are missing one trustee who wasn't present at the photo shoot. So we still need to schedule that. If you want to take a look at some of the links here. So going to business application. The application is available through the link. We've got the zoning map and the zoning code. Under economic development, we have some information that's been provided. And then we did receive details for these links, available sites, financial incentives, and planning and zoning. Well, some areas are still being developed.
So can you look at show the available sites? Actually, am I still in your thunder, Nick? Are we gonna go over this later? Okay. So some of the feedback that we got from the business community, just from phone calls, what we're hoping to do is to make this website user-friendly so that we can minimize, while we enjoy talking to our residents, we love seeing them in the hallway, but we want to give them an opportunity to get as much information from the website and to be able to complete forms online and submit them, and they'll be routed to the appropriate department. The same thing with economic development. We're getting calls, they want to know about zoning. So what we have done is we are part of a GIS consortium with South Suburban mayors and managers, and we sent them all of our priority sites. We sent them some pins in which they were able to create a layer map for us. Are we able to show that, Miriam?
Which section?
Under economic development. So under economic development, let's show the zoning map, that's fine. No, that's not it. There's an interactive. Well, let me
Available
make sure,
properties?
we may not have, yeah, let's try that. No, that's not it. Well, we have now the capability in which developers will be able to go to sites that we have prioritized or are available for development and be able to get the square footage. They'll be able to get the zoning and be able to have some, because when they have projects, a lot of this is about speed. And as opposed to them waiting in queue or getting in somebody's inbox, they want to be able to answer some questions independently. And so I think we were successful in doing that once we're able to find the link. It may not have been populated if we just recently sent it, but that's one of the things that we wanted to do, was just to make sure that we had a user-friendly website for the residents primarily and for the business community. So that's where we're going.
Okay. Are there any other pages you want to take a look at? These are the pages.
Actually, I wanted to see how that's been now.
And then these are the minutes.
Are there options to present and change the format so that they're not all listed like after each year? I would like to see all the 2023, the last 2022, 2021,
Absolutely.
each one of them. That's about the club.
Yep, we can do that. Laid out. Yeah, we can do an according layout. That's
I would like to see in Spanish, translated in Spanish, because we have a lot of Latinos in South Village.
Oh, yeah, we can have that option. The ordinance, or which department? I don't know off the top of my head.
They should be municipal from the,
So the municipal code ordinances. Okay.
in the current site, the electric,
Mhm. Okay. Yes, okay. So you're talking about, yes.
And in there, at the bottom, it says ordinances from number 1 through the year 2014.
Mhm.
And then every single ordinance goes in the years.
Oh, okay, okay. Got it.
The ordinances, and the ones that have been approved since 2014 are on the website and the website.
Okay, we can bring this over. Yep. Yes. Yes. Mhm. Yep. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, say it again? Very good.
Everyone, the trustees, clerk, hi, I'm Mark. You all will get a link to this, and you guys can email, reply, and let us know any updates that you would like to see, and we'll get that done before we go live. Okay?
Okay, so I would like to see if the residents or others would like to rent our parks, that are they able to just go in themselves, see a calendar for the date that they're interested in, and if that date is available, they're able themselves to book that date, and it goes to whomever to let them know that that date is now has been reserved. And I don't know if you need to pay a fee, like our community. Okay, the parks or no, not the community center. Okay, the senior center, community center. Instead of having to call in and wait again for someone to get back to you and go through all this stuff, you can look at the calendar, you can see if it's available. We can choose it ourselves, and then some link will go to, I don't know, the village clerk or someone to say that this date has been reserved. And then if there is a fee involved, the resident will have an opportunity somehow to pay that fee with a credit card or something of that nature. Do we have that option now? Yeah, we definitely a workflow.
The only point intervention in that is we wouldn't want to have an automatic approval process. There'd have to be some internal approval that intercepts that. So we wouldn't want to, in the end, here's the available date, I reserve it, and it turns out to be a rave party when, you know.
Well, that's what exactly what I'm saying. So on our calendar, if we have a month calendar, we should be able, because I've done this with many websites, it is extremely convenient. We as residents should be able to go into our website, and if we're interested in a date, if that date is available, we should be able to book it on the spot, and we should be able to pay for the reservations, but there should be a space where you can send to the clerk, I'm just going to use clerk, I don't know how it works, but to the clerk, to Bing the clerk, or email the clerk to let the clerk know this person's, because they fill out the whole application, they reserve their spot, they pay for it, and then the clerk gets an email to say, Miss Lisa Henderson has reserved March the 27th for the park, community center, whatever, and this is the receipt of the payment. And that is done. The clerk has been aware, it's been done on their part. The clerk knows the date, the receipt, everything has been paid for. I think that would be very, very convenient. And again, if we're talking about doing an interactive type of format, then I think we should be interactive for our village residents as well. That would be lovely.
Also, in addition, going back to the ordinances, in addition to the historical 2014 ordinances, I would like to see the current ones, or as current as possible, ordinances on, inputted as well. Is that possible? Okay.
However, they can only provide for us and our website what we provide to them. And some of the things that we're requesting requires internal responsibilities and decision-making in terms of changing processes and everything. Where ordinances are concerned, then that's going to require someone, and I promise you it will not be the clerk, to provide them all of the documents that you would like to see placed on the website. They just can't go and give us everything that they want. However, I would like to ask, when it's time to enter information, and especially where I'm concerned, minutes as well as agendas, because that's ongoing. Will I have access to place my own, or will I have to come through you and your company?
No, we'll hand this off to the village, and you guys can manage it internally. And so we'll make sure that you have a CMS that's user-friendly, correct? You're managing it internally?
They did what we're needing,
Yeah.
but for the other thing,
So the agreement that was approved does give an option for Avidity to assist with maintenance, but for something as common as uploading a flyer for an event or adding current minutes to a database, that's certainly something that they will train someone to be able to do so. And the back end, the CMS, will be easy enough to do so on a day-to-day basis. It won't require their intervention.
Well, what about,
Central management system,
and what about ordinances?
the same would apply. Once the clerk has them codified and they're ready to be uploaded, that should be a simple maneuver.
We'll talk about it, that's internal. That's internal, and this is.
Or, obviously, some minutes aren't able to be released immediately, so on and so forth.
Well, I was talking about the
Ordinance.
You have any more?
No, I think that we've covered the foundation of the new site. And again, we're still working with the administrator and department heads to fill it with all the wonderful content that we know you have here at the village. So we hope that you're pleased with the foundation that we've developed, and we're going to continue to improve it and try and get it as rich and robust as possible and get this rolled out.
Okay, what is the time frame? What I mean by time frame, if one of the trustees wanted to let you know if they're having a meeting, the turnaround time, do they have the opportunity to go in to Avidity itself and put their committee meeting
On the calendar.
on the calendar?
Oh,
Do
absolutely.
They have the opportunity?
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Do we have the opportunity to post our own flyers and events?
You sure will.
Okay. And my other question was, I didn't hear you say the list of businesses. List of businesses? The list of businesses, phone numbers, addresses? Like we had,
So yes, we do have a current list of the businesses in town, and that's something that we certainly can have available on the website.
it was on the old website and somehow it got removed. I don't know how, and it definitely needs to be on there. And the churches. We have the churches on there as well. Thank you. Yeah. And the other thing was, I see stock photos for all the different departments. Do we need stock photos? I mean, are you going to replace them with other photos? I mean,
Yes,
is there
they
a need for
have.
pictures?
Avidity has requested photos, action from events, and that's something that is being gathered.
Like retail and business districts, we don't have a person to put there. Why is there a person up there? People may say, who is that? It's questioning, how come I've never seen that person, or who is it? Why do we have stock photos on that?
These are graphics that we've designed because there's a lack of content that we've received. So we've designed some graphics for each of the pages. until there's a time that we can fill it with your pictures.
Okay, so it could be basically a retail establishment, not necessarily, because we don't have a person designated for retail and business districts.
Right, the graphic could be of, if there's a facade improvement, if we want to highlight a business that is opening, they could be, that photo could be highlighted.
That's a good idea. And also the Sauk Talk. Do you have the Sauk Talk anywhere that you can immediately get to it?
The magazine,
Yes,
Newsletter.
the monthly newsletter.
no, I don't think it's been added just yet.
It needs to be added to the front page in a prominent place. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk. You don't get it if you don't ask. That's right. Thank you.
All right,
So,
Oh, it's on your calendar of events?
yep.
Right, so it'd be listed here. Once it's plugged into the calendar, then it'll be listed here. Exactly, exactly.
So if they click on the date, like March 12th, if there's a flyer for March 12th, if you
So-
click on that, it'll go right to the flyer?
So see, in addition to the calendar, here it'll list the current date, the current events for the month. And they could click on the list and access that event
The flyer for
information.
that event. Okay, good. Thank you.
When someone come on the website, will it be moving like this?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep, yep. Yes, it's a live video.
Okay. Time frame that we can go online or when you can get it online.
We like to see it go up as soon as possible, but, you know,
You
we've
need some more
yeah,
input.
we've been back and forth
Okay.
requesting information for some time now.
Okay.
So there actually is a decision that we can go live with the information that we have and continue to build as information is, actually I might be speaking out of turn. I'm sure you all want to close the book on the development piece before we go live. That would be ideal. Yes, we'll send out the link to all of the trustees so you can review and make comment.
In the final presentation, I would like to see at least maybe one example of an ordinance being uploaded and inputted to see what it looks like.
Absolutely.
and I do have one special request. This is really, really nice, but if we can redrone it, because I would like our pictures to show when we have flowers and when the
Oh,
grass is green
absolutely.
and the trees. I would like it to be more vibrant. Obviously, this was taken in the winter or something, and it's just,
We sure can. We can definitely do that.
yeah, we want it to be nice.
Yeah, and we can change it several times a year.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So when you receive the link, anytime that we make updates, you'll see those updates. It'll be real time. So anything that we do, you know, between now and when you get the link, and if you go back on a regular basis, you'll constantly keep seeing updates.
All right, yeah. I think that's all the questions, so we will be getting in touch with you and vice versa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I got it. Oh, you right. I have no idea what's going on with that. I have to look at it after the meeting and see. It's probably calibrated separate or something. Oh, this. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. Oh, shoot, you want to leave it in? Okay, I'm sorry, I'm moving this out of your way. Do you have a hotspot? I'm not It's coming. It's not reading with you. It's not reading anything off your computer for some reason. Oh, okay. It's something. At the bottom of the shows first. The show is the thing. Okay, this is the economic development update. Okay. Would you introduce?
All right, thank you, Mayor. At the request of the trustee, I can't remember who it was, we are here before you to do a presentation on what's happening economic development-wise with the village. We have been approached. Fortunately, there is a good deal of attention that's coming to the village for some priority sites. Primarily, the industrial park, Sauk Trail, is getting a lot of interest and action. And we're going to go into a discussion and presentation about giving some background about the agreement between Sauk Village and Southland Development Authority and where we are at as far as implementing the comprehensive plan, key projects in the pipeline, and the like. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick Greifer to go ahead and get started.
All right. Thank you, President Burgess. Thank you, Board of Trustees, and thank you, Tim Williams. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. It's great to be able to speak to you and just have a dialogue, conversation about where we're going on the economic development program. I'm personally excited to be working with you as part of a regional group, the Southland Development Authority, that's my employer, working hard to deliver some results at the local level. As Tim alluded to, we want to hit on 4 points, just a little background, talking about how we're aligned with the comprehensive plan, some of the projects that we've started to put into the pipeline, and looking further out into the next 12 months. But in short, there's a lot to go over with you. After those 4 major points, I'll, happy to do follow-up questions and try to address them to my best of my ability. If there's something I'm not able to cover right tonight, I'm happy to follow up anytime this week. You know how to reach me. I have a cell phone, so I'm always available. Just a quick word on the background. The Southland Development Authority was established right almost at the day that the COVID crisis hit. So we've been flying under the radar during the first 2 years. But with the appointment of Bo Kemp as the CEO, my boss, we have started to step forward in the region. We serve 45 communities. We have a municipal consulting unit, which I am part of. Myself and Leslie Murphy, who some of you have met, are doing direct work with the village team to further the economic development program. Leslie and I, just to show you how old we are, have about 70 years of experience in the economic development space. But, our role is to be the advisor. We're not the deciders, we are the advisors to the village. We bring a nonprofit perspective, even though we are a consultant. We have that nonprofit status. We are regional in scope, and because of that, we think we can provide more assets and more, be a force multiplier, if you will, for the village. In terms of the comprehensive plan, we have spent a fair amount of time really understanding what you did, because you undertook a monumental task in 2019 with the help of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, or CMAP. So there was a lot of time, money, consulting resources, and effort spent with the public engagement process in 2019. And so they delivered to you an excellent, really, truly comprehensive plan. But as you know, comprehensive plans are designed to be visionary, long-term documents that govern what you want to do for the next 10 years. So it's a pretty high-level blueprint. Our job is to really start to be part of the implementation team, to take parts of the comprehensive plan and convert it into specific projects. So let me just turn to some of the projects that we are starting to work on and put into the pipeline, if you will. I would kind of organize it into 5 themes. Number 1 is the outreach theme. And I think it's important to point out here that in the real estate space, it's very much a relationship-driven industry. For example, municipalities are often issuing RFQs, RFPs for, let's say, road salt or paper or whatever. It doesn't work that way in the real estate industry. It's much more relationship-driven. We have done RFPs in the past in other communities I've worked in, and it hasn't worked very well. Sometimes there's just no responses. It has to be relationship driven, where you know the real estate professionals, the investors, the developers that actually drive the investment. So that's what we're doing, is really trying to build those relationships so that they're aware of the assets that are in Sauk Village. Secondly,
If I could jump in there, one of the things that we are planning and will be working on, obviously give you all plenty of notice, is a developers forum, in which we will be inviting some regional players to the village just to get a sense as to what are some of our assets here, our great access to rail and to the interstate, us having some prime locations that we want to develop, village-owned property that nobody would know about if we're not intentional about marketing and getting the word out. So part of that, before that, we are, okay. So one of the things that we're doing as well is working on marketing material. We're selling Sauk Village, and so we have to have a good commercial. We have to let the developers know that here's the population, here's the workforce. We have actually today took a meeting with a company that was looking to provide us with some data about, they were tracking cell phone data to let us know who all is coming in and out of the village, to know where they, when they do come to the village, where are they staying, how long are they staying. So all of this is information that can be utilized to share with developers so that they know that they do have a target audience, that we do fit within their key market, their key benchmarks to say, yes, this is a great place for us to land and build our shop. So it's a lot of groundwork that needs to be done in order to make sure that we're attractive and marketable to the retailers and to the industrial users and to the manufacturer users. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that for now.
yeah, and just continuing on that theme, you know, I would be remiss if I didn't point out we had a really nice business after hours event where Mayor Burgess was able to deliver his remarks on the major initiatives being undertaken for the village. So I thought that was great. Just number one was just really nice turnout. There was a lot of good people that attended, some of them who haven't interacted much with the village in the past, so it's important not just to get some of the folks that you may already know, but some of the new faces in town that are operating new businesses. So it was really exciting to see that. We had some photographs shown in that handout there. Secondly, this is not as exciting, I suppose, but some of the compliance, what I call internal housekeeping, is an important part of what we do. So we are, to some extent, building that plane while we're flying it. And what I mean by that is we aren't just doing projects, but we're also trying to get into certain repeatable processes or procedures so that positions us for long-term success. Number one is the incentive policy. We have done these before. I personally have done one of the first ones in the state of Illinois. So we use some of those concepts, for example, pay-as-you-go as a financing tool. 20, 30 years ago, municipalities used to take more risk. I think there's been some evolution to be a little more sensible and prudent when you're doing deals with developers to make sure that the village resources are protected. So that's why having an incentive policy and putting it in writing for staff is really important, I think, to make sure we protect those assets, whether they're enterprise zone incentives or TIF or business district or Class A. Secondly, we have a TIF district. I believe that's TIF number 2 that's sunsetting, so we do have to take some time to work on the closeout. It turns out that TIFs don't automatically sunset. It's sort of a manual process, so we are being careful to work to make sure that is closed out on time, which is not only mandatory, but it's also a nice thing to do in terms of good relationships with the other taxing districts, because when those TIFs do sunset, it will actually benefit the other taxing districts in terms of the EAV that goes back to the other taxing districts. Thirdly, we are going to be working on the TIF reports. Again, that's mandatory, but it's also part of that transparency effort because the state of Illinois comptroller publishes for every municipality in the state, the TIF report, so we intend to get caught up on that. And then lastly, just having a basic process. It doesn't have to be overly complex, so that when a developer comes to us, we understand what they're proposing, and then who they are, who the counterparty is, and then lastly, some of their experience, and then something that speaks to their ability to execute. So that's why it was exciting to hear from one of the speakers a couple weeks ago, Jimmy Giersick, because he has answered a lot of those questions that you want before he even sets foot and speaks to you. We have a good understanding of what he is going to propose.
And there's been questions about why don't developers come before the board early in the process and things. I will tell you we'll waste a lot of time, because one of the things that we do is ensure that if they come with this grand proposal, the question is asked, where's your financing? Make sure that you submit some sort of funding from your finance or from your bank that shows that you're capable of doing what you plan to do. Because what I inherited was some redevelopment agreements that are languishing. They're just sitting on the shelf because you all agreed to say, yes, you can move forward with this project, but they never closed. They were supposed to be cutting a check to the village to purchase this land. And so what do we have now is someone who has a parcel that is tied up now. It hasn't closed, but they have a claim to it that, in essence, could go to court and prevent further development. And so that's something that we need to make sure we do our due diligence on the front end to ensure that you have a viable proposal that comes before you to be able to vote on whether or not you want to see that happen.
Okay, the next thing I'd like to address is really an important initiative, which I know has been mentioned, I'm sure, with the grocery store initiative. We are spending a lot of time really trying to set the table for success in 2024. Right now, we're looking at really 5 important steps. The first is really understanding the sites that are feasible and even realistic, and target those sites. Obviously, Illinois 394 being advantageous in terms of traffic counts and access would be at the top of the list. So we are looking at that site and figuring out how we can work with either the private ownership or perhaps if it's a village-owned property, how we could, assemble and acquire it. In general, I just want to back up for a second, talk a little bit about, the grocery store priority. Like other communities, the village of Sauk Village has, in my opinion, too many unhealthy food options and not enough healthy food options. What's interesting to see is the evolution of the grocery store industry. Traditionally, you went and shopped at a typical Dominick's 15 years ago, or Jewel, or some of the other competitors. They were about 40, 50,000 square foot spaces. What you're seeing is more diversification of grocery store formats. It's getting, it's always been a competitive industry, but it's, I would argue, even more competitive now than it was 10 years ago, as there's more e-commerce opportunities. So the grocery store is actually a warehouse. So for a lot of people, and it's even a nice service for people that can't drive, is to use the e-commerce tool. But the side effect of that is the traditional grocery store is different now. And so we're going to be working in that space in a new competitive environment where we're trying to attract these kinds of grocery stores, but having to rethink a little bit about what that might look like. The second, I mentioned number 1, the site analysis. The second piece is we're going to have to develop, improved marketing collateral, make sure that we have attractive, obviously the website, but also just handouts and appropriate information in a compact, concise format. Thirdly is really going through our list to develop commercial brokers, particularly those that are experienced in the grocery store space. Fourth, sometimes bypassing the brokers and speaking directly to the grocery store operators. There's a lot of good grocery store operators, not just the more familiar names, but some of those that fly under the radar that might have just 1 or 2 or 3 stores. So those, I think, are very viable
So we
options.
have, so point number 4, we do have a list of
It's longer now, actually.
about 30 grocers that we will be reaching out to, and obviously that's going to get whittled down to a very few. There's going to be some quick no's and some long no's and some maybes, and so there's some courting and some wooing and things of that nature that have to happen.
Let me pivot to some of the new businesses that we're having discussions with. We have about 4 or 5 currently in the mix right now. In no particular order, we've had, obviously, the one that probably stands out is the one that you heard from already, which is the multi-purpose restaurant and cannabis dispensary and lounge proposed by Jimmy Giersick. So that's very exciting to see potential new investment in a multi-million-dollar, I don't remember the square footage, but pretty sizable property right off of Illinois 394, about 15,000 square feet. So that would be an exciting, pretty significant new infusion of investment into the community. Secondly, we are working with Dollar Tree and Family Dollar to, number one, allow them to expand, and number 2, reoccupy a underutilized space at the corner of Sauk Trail Road and Torrance. Thirdly, we are in active discussions with 2700 Sauk Trail Road, also known as the Title Max building. And then we are having an interesting discussion with a City of Chicago developer, 548 Capital, which is proposing a mixed use featuring solar and truck parking, which would be a new spin on a familiar concept of solar, community solar. Another
important to note, though, with the truck parking, I was one that was totally against truck. I was no. We don't want to utilize any space that could be better used for commercial uses or retail or whatever the case may be. But Nick shared with me some data that it's a definite need. And in conversation with Jimmy Giersick, he's indicated that you already have truck parking in town and you just don't know about it. They're in your residential blocks, they're in the night, we need to address it because with us having 394 running through our community, they're pulling off and they're gonna park. And so we're going to have to address that and control it. And what we did do was, as opposed to looking to just find a flat place to park cars, we found a developer that was interested in doing a mixed-use truck parking, and so there's some additional amenities and assets that come along with that. The board is going to, soon there will be a presentation in front of you all in which we're going to have to regulate that parking, and there's an opportunity, as other communities do, to charge a fee. If you're going to stay here overnight, then there is a tax that is available for us to be able to benefit from that, as opposed to trucks just parking where they want to now.
And last point is on cold storage. Cold storage has been around for some time, but it's an exciting innovative area because the cold storage buildings that are getting built these days are much bigger and more efficient and really help logistics companies and some of the businesses that rely on those cold storage facilities be more competitive. But there's opportunities there, so we are having some ongoing discussions with an experienced developer in that space. So those are just some 5 examples that are currently starting in the conversation. I do want to talk a little bit about the existing businesses too, because that's a core component of what any municipal government with its economic development program should do, which is really to help existing businesses and helping them just continue to be competitive and if possible, expand. One of the challenges, of course, is the classification system in Cook County. So right from the get-go, you have a situation where properties are assessed at higher value if you're commercial or retail business. So we are going to use the tools that are available to us, like Class A, to be competitive. Secondly, we're going to work with certain businesses such as Marco Transport, which has been in the village for some time, to help them be successful. And they've gotten to the point where they're ready to expand their footprint. They have more equipment, more assets. They just need more space to put it, especially on the weekly and monthly ebbs and flows, because on some days you go there and it's not very busy, and then on other days it's extremely busy and they're really outgrowing their space. So if we have the ability to work with them and have a fair deal put together transparently, I think that's an opportunity that we hope to move forward. Similarly with Paragon across the street, and then going forward, we want to continue to help some of the more smaller businesses that might not have massive facilities. Maybe they're just 5,000 square feet, but help them be competitive with their facade or signage or things that just fix up, spruce up their space, because that's really important, especially as you drive down Sauk Trail Road. Little things that maybe not individually are impactful, but after you see the third or fourth or fifth, especially on signage, which is always an important thing for me, to try to see if there's a way to upgrade up the game of the businesses in terms of signage. There are great sign companies out there, so I think that's an opportunity in the new year to work with to really help those businesses. And so we're going to have those conversations. And lastly, in closing, as we look ahead into the 2024, we're just going to pursue more, just basically more of everything. More outreach for sure. We're going to get ready for the big ICSC show, not the Vegas one, because I've never been to that one. I can't really justify that. But Chicago...
ICSC is the International Conference of Shopping Centers. It used to be called Recon in Vegas. Many municipalities go out there. This is where all of the national retailers and developers gather to show their expansion plans, and municipalities go to meet with those businesses to let them know, to sell their village or municipality, let them know why they should come and do business in their community. So as a way to save money, we typically wait until they come back around to Chicago at Navy Pier, in which we'll be preparing to be a part of that conference.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's shopping centers. Yep, ICSC, International Conference of Shopping Centers. Yep. So it's basically the retail sector. But yeah, the Chicago conference is much more cost effective. So that's the one that I've been going to with too. We're going to, be really rolling up our sleeves on grocery store recruitment, continuing the dialogue with business owners. We started that dialogue in a formal way last week. We're going to continue to have more events, regional events too. So, I work for a regional organization. My hope is that we can continue to have these regional events partnering between the SDA and the village. And I think there's opportunities to do that. We can draw from regional resources that we have access to. We have been fortunate to get foundation grants through the MacArthur Foundation, through Cook County. So I think those are things where we can help deploy resources here in the village. Looking forward to doing more of those events. And then, of course, I think it's appropriate to close on the website. I think that's a great opportunity. You got a kind of an early look at that. We want to continue to work and support Tim and the Avidity team to get the data that they need to finish those updates, because I think they're about 80% of the way there, and they need to get to that final 20%. That hopefully I can help you get to that 20%. But I do think having a website, particularly just looking at it through my lens of economic development, that's going to be really important, especially come October when we're going to those trade shows. Thank you.
I just close with what you don't see is the 20 or 30 meetings that take place that go nowhere. But we are certainly, I'm happy that Nick and Leslie are here and they're able to help facilitate those meetings and to take those calls, to correspond via email, just to, we obviously have to entertain everyone that calls. And if they're suggesting they want to do business with the village, it's not always a no. Now it might be, okay, well, how can we help you get to a place in which you are ready to go ahead and do business with us? You have a great idea, connect you with the SDA or the SBA or different, here is the Chicago Community Loan Fund, in which you may be able to get some financing to bring your idea to reality. And so there's hopefully these no's will come later, become yeses later, but the biggest piece is the relationship building that Nick started with. And so that's what we've been hearing, and that they're happy that they have folks that are willing and able to help them along this path. And so we just want to make sure that the word gets out that Sauk Village is open for business.
Is there any other questions? Trustee Williams?
Mr. Mayor, Nick, you mentioned something about tip reports.
Yes.
When is the last tip report that you saw that was handed in? I know you said something about get them
Yeah,
caught up.
I think the 2019. I believe.
2019?
Yeah.
And Tim, you mentioned something about inheriting. Could you expand on that more? What did you inherit? Some type of files that didn't go anywhere? What was that?
Yes, there were pending deals and redevelopment agreements that are still being reviewed and revisited.
So are we going to bring them back to the table, or?
Certainly.
Okay.
If they do have legs, but there's one that may be sunsetting soon, that there will be a recommendation potentially that we allow it to sunset because it has not progressed and moved to a place in which we're going to be seeing shovels in the ground anytime soon.
Okay. Can we get an update on maybe what those are, what those proposals
certainly,
were?
certainly.
I'd like to know which
Those
ones.
decisions won't happen on staff level.
No.
And so certainly once if the board approved the redevelopment agreement, we're going to have to come back to the board to rescind any redevelopment agreements.
Yeah, I'd like to know where we are with those.
Certainly.
Which ones we're talking about. Thank you.
Trustee Coleman?
Thank you, Mayor. Of the compensation plan of 2019, according to this, was unanimously adopted. Is there anything in the plan that has come to fruition?
Don't have the actual plan in front, but let's.
Go ahead.
What the comprehensive plan, you may be speaking about another plan, but the comprehensive plan is typically just a roadmap. It's a visioning tool. So there's not a deadline, or it guides our discussion, and it kind of sets the places and spaces in town on what the community discuss that they'd like to see. And so we are using that to inform our decisions when it comes to retail versus residential and things of that nature. So yes, those things are coming to, they have come.
Well, I'm looking for an example. I was there, I was part of the community at that time. And we saw a lot of things that were, they sounded promising. And I myself, as a resident at that time, was looking forward to, to the implementing of it, as well as the manifestation of some of those plans that were laid out. And so I'm wondering, 5 years later, is there anything that we had planned in the comprehensive plan? Is there anything that has manifested?
Yeah, I would just say, yeah. I think this actually speaks to some of the ideas that came out of that, the 2019 comprehensive plan. I was looking at it, reading it earlier today, and I'm just going to read right from it. It said, initial tasks include developing marketing materials, attending ICSC events. That's what we're going to do. that's where we're in the process of doing. So very much so, we are trying to be faithful to it, not just put it up on the shelf and forget about it.
Yeah.
We're going to take it down from the shelf, and read it and understand it and revisit it.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to do. But I think if we look through other pages, there's other sections that go beyond what I do. Like there's a transportation chapter. I'm sure the village engineer is working to, work with South Suburban mayors and managers to get those transportation grants too.
And certainly to that point, so specifically on the transportation, there is a steering committee that has been put together on the Phase 1 corridor study for Sauk Village, piece of Route 30, and Sauk Trail. And so that is in working right now, and we have 2 projects that are fully funded currently through RTA and through the Invest in Cook, in which we're able to get some Phase 1 engineering done so that we can go ahead. Those particular projects are more on multimodal corridor improvements, sidewalk enhancements, filling the gaps in the transportation map as far as sidewalks, and looking at the Ad-Grade crossing on Torrance Avenue, how we can fulfill the quiet zone that the village approved, but there still were some other assets, other features and treatments that needed to also follow that. So the comprehensive plan is a living document, and to Nick's point, most communities do. They have this great charrette, get the community all excited about what's happening, and then they put it on the shelf and forget about it.
I was excited myself.
Yeah, and that's something that we certainly are. Now we're trying to make sure we remain in fidelity to that comprehensive plan and the decision making.
Yeah. Keyword, Nick, you brought up evolution or evolving, and this 2019 comprehensive plan would have to definitely is going to be changed. Would you say, because based on your 5 themes, none of these are in that 2019 plan, so we're probably going to have to do a new comprehensive plan, would you say?
Yeah, they typically have a 10-year life before you have to revisit it. Was glad to see that.
I mean, a lot of things have changed in 5 years. We did have COVID, so I'm sure a lot of things have changed. And you did mention...
Yeah, that's a great point. COVID really...
The restructuring of grocery stores now.
Yeah.
What we think a grocery store, what we look for in a grocery store will not be as what a current updated grocery store will be, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the comprehensive plan is, to say the least, pretty much outdated, and we're probably going to have to do a new one because, again, these themes, the 5 themes and the new projects that are coming were not in the original plan, correct?
Well, I would say, for the most part, we are trying to, reflect a lot of the ideas that are in the comprehensive plan. So I think, just going back to the themes, I think they do really foot to what's in there. I mentioned ICSC, for example. That's really part of the outreach strategy, and I think that's the comp plan talks about it. We're talking about it tonight, so that's certainly an evergreen and doesn't become obsolete right away. All those compliance things, that's not necessarily in the comp plan because that's not the bright, shiny, new, cool stuff you talk about in comp plans, but that's got to be taken care of. It's a legal, mandatory thing, so we do that. The grocery store is just a priority for the village. I understand that.
Well, the solar mixed use item here on that wasn't in the original one.
The comp plan does speak to sustainability and
that's a great idea.
It's in the comp plan.
It's a great idea. And the restaurant that we're talking about and lounge for cannabis, that certainly wasn't in there. And that's
does
not a
speak
bad idea.
to retail and
Yeah.
to food service.
Okay, so I'm thinking, I guess what I'm trying to say is that just like the community was involved, who unanimously approved it, then I would imagine the community will want to get re-involved in evolving comprehensive plan. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, this speaks to, strategic level thinking, which is, at a higher level. And what we're doing is a little more granular, more, I would call it tactical, for lack of a better word.
Right.
So the tactical stuff might change more quickly, and but those broader strategic themes, I think those are, relatively evergreen and don't change that quickly, hopefully.
Okay.
Okay. No more questions? All right. Very good report. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for
And
the opportunity.
we look forward to many more updates.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if I didn't answer anything, I'm certainly available. And,
Well, yeah, you're
happy
here.
to talk further.
You're here during the day, so. All right. Next item, Trustee Williams has a contract extension request for the service agreement with Catholic Networking Group for IT services.
This came to my attention when I was asking to have the Sauk Talk posted to the internet, that I wanted to find out exactly what is our current situation with CASRIC and the IT department, because there seemed to be some question as to whether or not they're still operating as IT, and again, I'm only working on information that I don't have exact information. So I know we did some RFPs and we got some bids from 3 different companies for IT, information technology management services, and they seem to be not conclusive, not apples and oranges, let's put it that way. I found out when I did my research that CASRIC, our current company, actually services. So the original proposal was dated November 3rd, 2022, and then there was a contract extension January 21st, 2024. If I read this correctly, Mr. VA, I'd like you to explain this to me. There's there's a CASRIC Networking Group IT contractual agreement that's dated November 3rd. Is that the original one?
The contract with CASRIC expired in November of 2023.
So they've been continuing to work for us without an additional contract.
Correct. And the extension was sent as an attempt to, they were aware that there was an RFP that was on the table, and they were also told that they would have an opportunity to respond to the bid, to the RFP. But that wasn't something that they were interested in. They were looking for an extension, and we went with the RFP process.
So you went with, okay, so my question is, CASRIC is currently our IT. You have to answer that. I don't know.
CASRIC is currently providing some supportive services. I would say that in the past few weeks, things have gotten a little contentious, and the quality of response has been diminished, and that has been ongoing for some time, which actually is what prompted the RFP in the first place.
So my question is also, when you say that they're responsible for some of the IT, who's doing the rest of it?
All of IT is currently, they were in a month-to-month, and they understood that from November until it was noted that there was going to be an RFP, and that's when things kind of diminished at that point.
So in the initial contract, where it says for a 12-month period, where in here does it say that it's a month-to-month, or is that just an agreement that you came up with them?
I did not come up with that. Kazrick actually, in email, indicated that they were under a month-to-month contract.
Until they either get their contract extension approved or until they are chosen as the bidder according to the bid process.
We are still in the midst of an open RFP process, and which, I guess I'll make it plain, there would not be a recommendation to go back with Kazrick based on the quality of service that we received.
We're in the middle of a transition with, is it AT&T?
I understand that that is what they're presenting as rationale as to not move forward with an RFP or with a new contract. Obviously, they have some benefit to upholding that position. I don't agree that there would be any hiccups if this is, it in essence has been done. Part of the challenge is the internet and phone service should have gone live in January 12th, I believe. Here we are in March, and we're still working on that. And it simply is a matter of them turning up a circuit that's been made available for whatever reason that
When you
has
say
not
them,
happened.
you mean?
Kazrick.
Okay, so have you asked them why they haven't turned that switch?
Yes, we have weekly standing meetings on this project. Most times it's just me and AT&T on that call.
Also, when I'm looking at the minutes from when we opened up the bids, it says one company is to serve desks, okay? Another one to serve desktops, which I assume is the same thing. And Kazrick is requesting a 24-month contract, and it doesn't say specifically what they're going to be providing, but their proposal seems pretty detailed and comprehensive. The ones that you got from the other two companies, I'm sure you compared what Kazrick's offering in their extension to what the other, because we never saw the other bids. And I didn't even see this until I found out, I was made aware that it actually existed. So are we able to see the bids that were proposed? Let me just say this, I know we are able, I'd like to make an appointment to see those. So I can compare what Kazrick is proposing to what they're proposing.
Certainly.
Because this hasn't come back to the table yet.
Correct. So we have three proposals that were three responses to the RFP. We had Kazrick, we had AIC, and we had Avidity. Avidity came in at a high number, $175,000. And with that, they seem to be cost prohibitive.
Yes.
Kazrick came in at the middle bid at $125,000, and from my recommendation, would not receive, their bid to me was disqualified based on our experience that we've had with them. And our low bidder, we did have, there was an open item on that RFP as well. So while I believe that the low bidder is capable of doing the job, the recommendation that I was planning, I will wait. I will bring a recommendation to the board at the next board meeting.
At the next board meeting or committee?
1 week from today.
A recommendation to approve one of these, the bidders?
I will bring two recommendations. I don't want to move too far ahead of myself or where
Well,
we're
if you're
at
going to bring
right
this
now.
to the table for a vote next week, then I definitely need to see the contracts for Avidity. Well, you said Avidity is priced herself out of the competition. So if you have two, it would have to be the remaining two, which is AIC and Kazrick. Because we only had 3 people bid.
Yeah, well, if you were to take a poll from any employee or department head, they would conclusively say that the experience that they've had with Kazrick they would not make a recommendation to continue.
But you just said you were going to bring 2 to the table next week.
2 options.
two options for
IT services.
two different vendors?
I'm not prepared at this moment to make that presentation.
Well, we only took bids from 3, so this is why I'm wondering why you're going to bring, if you're bringing 2 vendors to the table, they
I did
only
not say I was making two vendors, making
Just
2
options.
recommendations.
Okay, 2 recommendations.
Let me say this right quick. We're getting ready to, at the public comment, we're gonna go into executive session for possible litigation. So at that time, I think it'll be a little bit more clear.
Okay.
We're not gonna try to do it here, so it'll be.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
So there's really no reason to continue the conversation.
Right, it'll be a little
Okay.
clearer.
Then that makes it a little bit different. I wasn't quite done yet. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure that the difference between these 2 proposals, one was the original contract from November, this was their extension, and what you're saying is, even though we're going through a transition right now, you feel that whatever company or whatever option you bring to the table next week can get right into this transition and not have any issues,
Correct.
in your opinion? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Trustee Johnson.
If you look at the extension for the 2024, for the asking for the extension, look on the old one. I don't know if y'all noticed that they changed. They took off the agreement for as letter H versus what they had already for November 3rd. It's a certain amount of things that they took off if they're asking for an extension. I don't think that should be, just like if you look at HSS troubleshooting legacy Windows and OS issues. That part is not on this extension. Was you aware of that, Mr. Williams, that they did change their agreement?
I was not aware of that. I did not entertain an extension because there was an open RFP process at the time, so it would not be wise to entertain an extension at the same time that there's an RFP.
Okay, I just want to bring to your attention also, up under number 1, where it says program management / IT engineer. They took off, if you look at the old one, they have a letter D up under there. They took that off on this new agreement. Are you following me? Another one, under the old one, page 2. Up under helping and create a smoother transition into technology, they got new project management. Under this old one, they snatched it off.
Trustee, I remember I just said that we're gonna be going into executive session in regards to some things, so
Okay.
that's why your VA is not answering a lot of questions, because we should.
That's fine, thank you.
I think it'll be a little bit clearer once we go there and discuss that. So, are there any other questions in regard? I got Trustee Williams, she had her viewpoint on the extension, and it was cleared up, so I'm not trying to discredit, but I'm just letting you know that we cannot answer things until we have a chance to go over it, and then you'll understand exactly what we're trying to do. Yes. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we'll move along to public comments. All questions and comments must be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter concerning the business of the village of Sauk Village. Each speaker is allowed 1 opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter replies, or rebuttals. I will respond to all questions once all public comments have concluded. When you come up to the podium, please state your name. We'll go from there. Just someone put a mic, make sure that mic is live, that's back there.
My name is Sharice Harris.
Just a second, I think she's waiting on it. You ready? Okay.
Okay, my name is Sharice Harris. I am a resident here in Sauk Village, Mayor. The question I have is, why were the residents notified about the water bill issue? Via mail or anything like that, so that we could know what was going on?
Oh, you didn't hear everything I said, so I'm gonna answer the questions then. Is that was the only question that you had? Okay. You said, that was the what?
And I have one more.
Okay.
Concerning the parking, as far as the truck drivers, why they're being allowed to park in the parking lots and stay there for extended times, like 3 weeks, sitting there parked in the parking lots by the daycare over there by the AutoZone, just sitting there.
Good evening, elected officials.
Wait a minute. Hold on just a second. Mr. Baird.
I'm sorry. Ready? Good evening, elected officials. My name is Bernard Barrett. I'm a resident of Sauk Village for the past 20 years. I'm also on the school board of District 168 for 8 years. I have a couple of questions. First, about the speed bump on 225th and Brookwood. We need a speed bump over there. I think I asked you guys a couple months ago, because it's a matter of when the accident is going to happen. It's going to happen because they're going at a stop sign. Secondly, for my property, I asked you guys last year about the tree service, because the roots is coming up out of the ground and tearing up the sidewalk. And it's getting to the point where it's going up to my house, so it's going to be affecting my drainage system soon. And if that happens, who's responsible for getting that fixed?
Hi, Vicki Jankovich, resident of Sauk Village. I just had 2 questions. One was about the water bill. Will we get like a double bill? And will there be any late fees? And also, I was just reading in the newspaper about Family Dollar and Dollar General that a lot of them are going out of business. So will that affect Sauk Village?
David Fields. Mr. Mayor, it's just my own personal opinion. I think that when it comes down to the certain dealings in business that goes on here in the village, there should not be a personal relationship with our trustees on some of the people that get hired for these positions. I think that we should develop an oversight committee to help put a handle on some of this excessive spending, unnecessary spending that's going on. Because again, we're finding out, us as residents of this village, we are paying for some things unnecessarily. We are paying for it. And I think it would be a different situation if money had to come out of personal people's pockets for some of the things that's going on. I think it's utterly ridiculous to have a $9,000 telephone bill with an attorney within 30 days. That's crazy. And finding out it's not all about village business. Personal business is involved in it. And this is the reason why I speak about this oversight committee. Our oversight committee gets to keep a hand on what's going on here in this village with our trustees and the spending of this money with our trustees. Now, I think that we as residents, it's time for us to start stepping up and seeing things for what they are. It's a lot of money going out of this village. A lot of money is going out of this village for unnecessary things. Reading is essential. And I think a lot of this stuff can be eliminated if they just take the time to read. Because you don't have to call it, you don't have to call an attorney to ask him what's ABC. If you went to school, you already know. 3 letters in the alphabet. Common sense. So with the oversight committee or the watchdog group, I think that we can get a handle on the situation if that committee is formed. And I'll be more than glad, Mr. Mayor, to head that committee. Thank you.
David Smith, resident. First question, who's responsible for holding the trustees committee meeting minutes, sign-in sheets, and agendas? Second is a partial question and also a comment. I just observed a few presentations, and I'm looking at outside presenters have to come in and use hotspots. And that doesn't make any sense because we're at Village Hall. You guys should be able to get them connected. And that brings me to my question. Why would we even consider extending the current IT company based on their current performance? If their performance is diminishing, that's not operating in good faith. Whether they're under contract or not, they should be putting their best foot forward. We don't need bad service, and in my opinion, we shouldn't consider anyone that's giving bad service because there's a lot of technical things around here that need to be fixed. And anybody that's not willing to do the job, we need to get rid of them. The last is just another comment / suggestion. Do with it what you will. Based on the amount of lawsuits that are going on right now, seeing as how we just had our insurance presentation, my recommendation is that you guys pick the premium that has the highest wrongful termination coverage, and that is it. Wrongful termination coverage. There's a lot of lawsuits going on, and a lot of them have to deal with wrongful termination, so I would advise that you guys cover yourselves.
Good evening. My name is Dorothy Sack. I just wanted to know if the mayor was aware that Aldi's have over 800 stores that they want to put in different areas. And I was just wondering, is it a possibility our names can get put on that list? If so, it would be a good idea to have an Aldi store in our area. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to, some of these are comments and some of these I'm going to attempt to address. The first one, which it seems like it was the most, the water billing. That was, your water bills, first of all, we're not going to have any, there won't be any late fees. But they did go out, and it went out with an explanation before they went out that you can come and pay what you paid last month, and then we'll adjust it next month, or you can wait for the water bill to come, and that's 6 weeks. So the water bill was held back for an additional 2 weeks. So your bill that you'll be getting will be a 6-week bill. Usually it's a 4-week bill, but this will be a 6-week bill. And it was some things that we're going to discuss tonight has something to do with IT and things not happening. It was presented, and it didn't come back to the village the way it should have in regards to reading the equipment that they have to read, and that was one of the problems that we had, that the equipment that we use to read your water bills, because we don't go to the house anymore, we use the iTron system, which is a computer system. You ride down the street, it picks up the reading on your meter itself, it gives it back to the iTron, they bring it back, it's supposed to be downloaded into the system. That's where the ball was dropped. So I just want to say I'm sorry for what happened. We didn't find out about it until it was too late, and but right now there will be no late fees, and for this month, I'll put it that way. I don't want you to come back and say, what about June? And you said no late fees. No late fees for right now, because that was something that was done by the village. So we're not charging late fees for this particular bill that's February and whether it would be February or part of March. In regards to The speed bumps, the gentleman, I talked to him several times, I'm waiting for the Public Works, where they get busy at the last minute a lot of times, because we have what you call water main breaks. So when that happens, everything stops and we go take care of those. But you're on the list for that in that area around 225th and Brookwood. And then also want someone to go out there from the Public Works, along with the Public Works Director, to go out and look at that area where the tree is, and make a determination, because I hate to cut trees down, because once you lose them, they're gone. And they are beneficial for each and every municipality. But I want to look at it, and if it is causing that problem where it's tearing up the sidewalks because of it doing that, then yes, it may do some other damage later, because the tree roots are looking. And that's where we get a lot of water main breaks too, is because the tree roots wrap around. They move the line itself, and you can only move that line so much, the next thing you know, you're going to have a break. Family Dollar and Dollar Tree coming in, yes, I saw the same thing on television in regards to Dollar Tree and Family Dollar maybe going out of business. Right now, we haven't heard anything. They were preparing the area that's right here on Sauk Trail and right off of Torrance Avenue for that, for both of them coming in together, but it's, as I stated before, they're preparing. It used to be a store. So they did some kind of revisions inside the store for that reason, but everything is being put on hold right now for whatever reason, and that's their concern, is they still have a contract with the owner of that facade. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen, but I'm hoping that there's going to be something happening there. And I'm sure the person that owns that facade doesn't want to just sit there. Oversight Committee. Deal with excessive spending. That's something that I've tried to look at, and the trustees have also, looked at it. But since we've had, and I knew this was going to happen, since we've had 2 lawyers and law firms, just spending is going to be high. Just trying to keep it, just trying to let you know it's going to be high, because you're going to have one going against the other, and in the meantime, the residents have to pay. So that's something that we're going to really have to look at when it comes to this new budget, because it is an excessive amount. It is a lot of money, because you're going back and forth, and each vendor, lawyer, whatever you want to call it, is here to make money. As far as the accountability for the trustees, for their minutes and agendas, their minutes and agendas are supposed to be turned into the clerk, and she is the one that makes sure they get paid. And if they don't turn in their, they don't turn in their attendance sheets and agendas, that particular trustee won't get paid. So, but the minutes, I think, is twice a year. And another thing about the Wi-Fi, that's one of the reasons that we're looking at, and that's why one of the things we went out for bid for a new IT, because of some of those things that we were talking about. And lastly, yes, I want all these. Everybody wants all these. But you're getting on the list. All these is just like Walmart and all the rest of them. They're looking to make money. If they see the count, if they see a place that they can make that money, they'll come. But exactly what I'm trying to let you know, that it is to make money. And I do know from years, and I would say about when I first became mayor, they brought in Walmart right there in Richmond Park. And I even asked the mayor of Richmond Park, what did he do to make that happen? He said everything was cut and dry. The deal was made, they talked about it, they were ready to break ground. They had a meeting on Sunday. And at that meeting on Sunday, Walmart told the village of Richmond Park that they want half of what they're supposed to, of what the village is supposed to get for the sales tax. That wasn't discussed before. But everything else was discussed at the last minute. And Walmart had signs up and everything. We're opening and we're gonna break ground and everything. Walmart said they don't get half their walk out tonight or that day, that Sunday. So you see Walmart is there. So be careful what you ask for because they already know what you don't have. We're trying to make sure that we can get it, show them the need where they can make money. And a lot of times when they try to make money, they get a little greedy because they have stockholders. But rest assured, we are still trying to get and show them that there is a need for a grocery store in this area. Okay. That,
Mr. Mayor?
yeah.
Yes, sir. Did you address the truck parking? I don't think I didn't hear it.
Okay.
One of the residents asked about truck.
I understand. Only thing I can tell you is we do have law enforcement that's out there. No trucks over a certain limit out to be parked in the residential area. And we've had that, and I've seen where you had the trucks parked and tickets were made. It's just a matter of how many tickets they're going to get and what company it gets to, and that'll stop. But right now, they figure 1 or 2 tickets doesn't mean anything until they get those tickets and they start multiplying. Next thing you know, they're paying fines of thousands and $2,000. That's the only way you're going to stop from doing it. You have to hit them in the pocket. And it seems like that's the only way a lot of things happen. You have to hit it in the pocket. So yes, we're ticketing them, but it's just a matter of they haven't gotten enough where it's going to stop them from doing it. That being said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn to. I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session. Okay. I'll ask for, no. Fine. We'll go with comments from trustees. I'll start because we had comments earlier and you all didn't have much to say. But we'll start now. Trustee Williams.
Good job,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Yes, I do have things to say that had nothing to do with private conversations. Number one, my community development meeting will be on March 27th at 11 a.m. here in the Rotunda. Everyone is welcome to attend. And you mentioned something about a 6-week water bill going out. Will the next bill be 2 weeks so we can stay on track with the dates, or are we're going to alter the billing time cycle?
It'll be 4 weeks.
So it'll be 4 weeks, so
Yes.
it won't be the same cycle. Okay, well, I'm just curious. And also, once again, I asked to have something on the agenda for discussion, and it was not put on the agenda. And when people ask why we have legal bills, the reason why we have legal bills is because the trustees do not get recognized as the authorities that they are. So I actually wanted to have an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Village of Sauk Village concerning financial reporting duties of the village finance director and treasurer, and I needed that to be in an ordinance form so we can make sure that we get the reports that we're entitled to. The problem is that we cannot get the financial information that we need, and here we are so far behind in our audits and our budgeting and everything else. And you ask about oversight, I totally agree. There needs to be some oversight. And one of the ways that the trustees can see that there's oversight is if we get certain reports. There are a lot of reports that we're not receiving on a timely basis. For an example, when the gentleman was here just a little while ago and he mentioned tip reports. Tip reports are supposed to be done on an annual basis. When I asked him when was the last tip report done, he said 2019. That's typical. The treasurer report that's due in December is still not done. There are multiple reports that we're not getting as far as collectors' reports and different financial reports. We have not gotten a completed PBC list from our auditor that our audit hasn't been done for 1921, that's been sitting on, this audit has been sitting there for over a year and nothing's being done on it. And we need these reports. And we need to know that the work that's supposed to be done is getting done. Our bank reconciliations aren't getting done. There's a lot of reports that we're missing, that we're not getting, and when we ask for them, we still don't get them. So yes, there needs to be an ordinance in place that specifically states this report is due the first of the month, this report is due at the end of the year, this report is due here, and we want this report. And if the finance director or the treasurer is the one who's responsible for this report, we want that report at that time. Now, when I asked to have that ordinance placed on the agenda for today, it was not placed on the agenda. This is not the first time that a trustee has asked to have something placed on the agenda. So what does that mean when a trustee is ignored about what they want on the agenda? Then they have to call a special meeting. And then you have to call the lawyers in, okay, so they can prepare certain documentation. That should not have to be done. For example, if there's anybody else that wants to be part of the special meeting, then now I have to call in order to get this ordinance discussed by the board. We also have to override the mayor's veto of an ordinance amending the municipal code of the village of Sauk Village, establishing the salaries of village official and supervisory personnel. We might not always agree, but when the board doesn't agree or the mayor doesn't agree with the majority of the board, he has the option to veto. And by the same token, the board's recourse is to override. And what does that do? It just delays, and it just gives the opportunities to make money. Now, the mayor has to have an attorney write up a veto, and the trustees have to pay an attorney to write up an override. And what's going to happen is there really is no recourse after the veto and the override, because supposedly that's supposed to be the end of the cycle. But what's been happening more often than not is the cycle still does not stop there, because some people seem to ignore the motions and the ability that the board has to take certain action. So now we have to have bring the legal teams in again. And this is exactly why the trustees have to get their own legislative attorneys. Because we are not recognized very often by corporate counsel or the mayor when it comes time to take action. Everybody has a job to do, okay? Everybody's job is different. So when the corporate authorities here cannot get the action done that the majority agrees to, it means bringing in attorneys. It means having them write up documents that we shouldn't have to pay them to do. So it's not personal things. I'd like to know where on a legal bill there's anything personal, because if anybody's aware of that, I'd like to see it. Regardless of who is the one doing it, I doubt that it's happening. But when somebody comes to the podium and makes a statement like that, it makes me want to say, show it to me. Prove it to me. Because we don't talk to our attorneys, we don't talk to our attorneys about personal things and get billed for it. And if we did, I sure would like to see it. And so we will be calling, Madam Clerk, we will be calling a special meeting. I will be calling a special meeting next Tuesday prior to the regular board meeting, so that way we don't have to pay extra to have a meeting. I'm going to try to bring it in line with next week's meeting, just so you're aware of that now. I'll get you the paperwork as soon as possible. Oh, I didn't know. What time is your meeting? Well, then we'll have to do it on Monday night. And I didn't want to do it on Monday night, or we'll do it on Wednesday night. If we can't do it that night, then we've got to come up with a night. You said your meeting's at 6? I could try to call mine for 5 and just, I don't have any intention of making it more longer than an hour, and then we could probably call for 5 and take action at the end of the regular board meeting. If we talk about it at the beginning.
Excuse me, wait a minute. You calling a special meeting and then you're going to have it put on the regular board meeting?
Next week is a board meeting.
Yes, but you called a special meeting.
To discuss the ordinance.
To discuss, and then you're going to put that on the regular board meeting?
No, sir, that's not what I said.
You said you want to vote on it at the regular board meeting.
Since you wouldn't put it on this agenda, Mr. Mayor, I doubt that you would put it on the next week's board agenda to vote on it. So what I'm saying, Madam Clerk, is if we have a special meeting at 5 before his meeting to present the ordinance and the override and anything any other trustee would like to contribute, then we could discuss it at 5 and then vote on it at a special meeting at the end of next week's board meeting. Does that make sense?
Then you wonder why.
No, Mr. Mayor, please.
No, please, because it's supposed to be comments. And it seems to me like you're not just doing comments, you're sitting here with pointing fingers or whatever the case may be, but then you want to know why we spend money.
Why didn't you just put this on the agenda, Mr. Mayor, like I requested? None of this would have had to happen.
See, because your comments and everything, it seems like every time you have a comment, it's always something that he didn't do this, didn't do that. Why don't, I'm here every day. I'm here every day, but now I guess you need an audience, which is fine. But comments are supposed to be comments. And you're talking to the audience, I thought we was talking about something that's going on here. But, as I stated before, we continue to keep doing this and we're not taking care of business, we're just pointing fingers at somebody, I will stop comments.
You can't stop comments.
Oh, I can stop it.
No,
now,
you cannot,
take me to
Mr.
court.
Mayor. You cannot stop the comments
but you're not
from
gonna
trustees.
you're not going to sit here and just sit back every time we have a meeting, sit back and say, well, he's not doing this.
What gives you the authority not to put an ordinance on the agenda that a trustee requests?
I write the agenda because if it has no validity in it.
You don't think it's a validity that the trustees should get reports, financial reports?
That's not what you have.
Yes, sir, it is.
That's not. No, it's not. You want to tell what the different department heads should do.
The reports that we should get. Yes, sir. When you were a trustee, you demanded that you get these reports.
When I was trustee, there was a lot of other things going on that when you were
got these reports.
When you were clerk
and you got these reports.
That you were clerk at that time,
yes.
You allowed to happen.
Now, who's going around the corner and down the street now?
That's what I'm talking about.
Who's going around the corner and down the street now?
That's what I'm talking about. That's why I said about comments, just back and forth, back and forth.
Okay, Madam Clerk, tell me why I cannot take action next Tuesday on this.
You're not going to listen. You're not going to listen. Y'all see that?
Mr. Mayor, may I respond to her?
Point of order, please.
Okay,
No,
what's the point of
she's
order?
asking-
What is the point of
she needs a point of
She asked a point of
privilege.
order. She asked
Point of privilege.
What's the point of order?
Privilege.
I didn't hear you. Oh, no, well, you got 5 or 12 people.
5 minutes?
No,
I mean,
no,
break-
no, you can go ahead and do and come back. But no, I'm talking
No,
we have an executive session. I'm not
I know,
going
but
to sit there
when
at 12
someone
o'clock
is
at night.
asking for an executive privilege, the
Okay, she
meeting
can
does
go.
not go on.
She can go.
We have to wait till she comes back, sir.
Why? We still have a quorum.
Why is it every time I say something, you want to override what I say?
We still have a quorum.
Mr. Mayor, because of parliamentary procedure.
Then act like you do.
And that's why I'm saying
Okay,
we
so that's
have
what
to
I'm talking
wait.
about. Are you finished, Trustee Williams?
Madam Clerk would tell me how I can get this item on next week's agenda in a special meeting
It has to
format.
still go, if it's a special meeting, that's what you call a special meeting.
Yes, sir. And how do we vote
got money,
after
we
we
got
bring it? Got money to do it. Mr. Mayor, what's this got to do with money?
No, I'm talking about whatever you want to do, so go ahead.
Madam Clerk, I'm going to disregard.
I know you are.
Yes, can you just tell me the proper procedure, so next Tuesday, I don't have to deal with this?
Clerk. Deal with this.
Yes.
Then
next Tuesday,
you don't
Madam
have to
Clerk,
deal with this.
how do I do
You
this?
do not have to deal with this.
Why are you because you're not
why are you
doing this?
Because you're saying you have to deal with it.
You talk about back and forth, Mr. Mayor.
You don't have to deal with it because when you start talking at me, I'm gonna let you know. You're not gonna have, you don't have to deal with this.
Mr. Mayor,
you don't have to deal.
You asked me if I was done, and I said no.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the clerk a question, and you interrupted.
But why don't you ask the clerk? Why do you
and
wait?
Now you're interrupting
you wait till you get an
again.
audience. I understand. You wait till
No, you're looking for an audience.
I'm not the one that brought this up.
Okay, Madam Clerk, like I said, I'm going to ignore everybody else in the room.
No, you're not.
And I'm going to look right to you, and I'm going to say, this is what I need next week. How can I get it done?
I thank you too for delaying any further communication. Now I can't answer your question because the trustee is seated again. My suggestion, and you know I can't tell any of you what to do and what not to do, but my suggestion would be to handle it the same way we handled the most recent special meeting, board meeting, where you communicated on a topic, and then you turned right back around, and then you voted on it. Handle it the exact same way.
Exactly, and the last time we tried to do that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we were told we couldn't vote on it at the same time. But I do agree with you.
I mean, we've done it a few
Yeah,
times.
let's do it that way.
We've done it a few times. We've had a number of special meetings
Yes,
over
we
the
have.
last month and a half. And in almost all of them, you had discussion on the front end, and then you took a vote and you adopted whatever. So that's the only thing that I can say.
I appreciate that, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you very much. We can get in time for his meeting. We'll make it 5. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. You're welcome. Thank you.
Trustee Coleman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About the economic development update, back in 2019, when I was just a resident, I was very excited about the comprehensive plan. Very excited, looking forward to the development of Sauk Village. And looking forward for this one. But not so much encouraged by it, because this 2019 plan is just that, a plan, with no implementation and no manifestation, no fruition. So I'm looking forward to what developments that will take place with our new comprehensive plan, because this one never happened. My next meeting will be March the 25th at 7 p.m. here in the Rotunda. That's Monday, March 25th, my Ordinance Review Committee meeting. Again, March 25th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Trustee Burns?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I want to say that I am sorry for missing the business affair hours meeting. I work nights, and so there are many meetings at night that I will miss because I'm working. I will make the ones that I can, but just to let you guys know, that's the reason why I missed it this one. So, looking forward to the next one. There also has been some discussion about contracts and how we're doing them. I know that we've discussed contracts and things coming up before us with last minute or having long extended contracts. The bottom line is when companies come to our village to court us, they want our business, we really don't know how we're going to work well with those companies or not. And that's why a lot of times we don't prefer to have long extended contracts. It's like anything else. If a business is going to come to your village, you would like to have a reasonable contract to get to understand if you are a good combination and a good fit, such as the VA has made reference and the trustee has made reference tonight. There's a contractor, fit's not good, and extended contracts and all of that. So a lot of times I did not vote for the FLOC program simply because they went from having us to do a 1-year contract to a whole 5-year contract. Again, I don't think it's ever necessary for us to have those lengthy contracts. Let's first get to know if we can work well together. Let's first get to know how that company operates within our village and with our staff. So, and not only that, I don't ever think that is a very good idea for us to be held hostage to any company that forces us to do a lengthy contract. If you can negotiate, then you know what? I'm sure there's someone else that we can negotiate with. So I'm never going to vote for any company that comes here and try to strong arm us into a lengthy contract. I'll just go to another service and find someone who's going to be reasonable enough to negotiate with us. The other thing I want to say, I also did not vote with We Never Walk Alone. I did not vote for that because, number one, I had a very extensive conversation with Chief White. Chief White and I talked extensively about that, and We Never Walk Alone is an additional program. Our cops and our police service people, they have two other opportunities to have private conversations and counseling with professional people, even professional people in their own field. So Never Walk Alone is not the only plan that they have access to that the village is already paying for. So some residents have said many, many times, where we can save money, we should. I totally agree. And if our police have the Fraternal Order of Police, they have insurances that they can have special counseling through that option. And they also have Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have opportunities to have specialized counseling amongst their own peers as well. So there are other options that the village is already paying for. So if we don't need additional, use the options and use the services that we have, because that is what we have available, and that is what we are paying for. So again, save money where we can. And the other thing is, there's no way I personally as a trustee will be approving any type of contracts when we know we don't have a budget. We know we don't have a budget. So if someone bring a 5-year plan to me for $150,000, I'm not, well, how can I approve it? Where's the money coming from? We don't have a budget. So why am I, as a trustee, being irresponsible to approve a $150,000 contract, and we know good and well it's not in this budget. This budget is cut off. And the new budget doesn't end, this budget ends in April. The new budget doesn't even start until May. So how can me, being a responsible trustee, approve monies that we have no budget for, period? So I will not be approving any money, and I know we don't have a budget. And I do encourage our mayor, and I know that he's eager just like the rest of us are, that when May comes, I'm sure he's gonna be eager to hand over the new budget, because he's already said it. He's ready to get the new budget so that we can handle and address these contracts and these bids and these companies that want to come forward. So I'm with the mayor. I'm eager for May to come so that we can get the new budget up and running, so that we can approve monies or businesses that we think our village do need. Okay, so I wanted to make sure I said that. No spending, regardless of what anyone thinks, no spending should be done without the involvement and the consent and approval of the trustees. So whatever oversight committees or whatever, as the mayor said, that's something that's been talked about, something has been discussed, but at the same time, trustees must always be involved in the spending of the village's finance. That's what we're here for. So I don't think that could ever be without trustees being involved. That's just something I wanted to say. And as far as paperwork being mandatory, listen, I'm going to tell you now, I do not keep all this paper that's floating around. I don't have anywhere personally in my home to keep it. So I rely heavily. If I get these documents and the minutes and agendas, I rely heavily on, if I am told to hand it over to another department, I hope the department keep record of it, because I surely don't. I don't have anywhere to keep all this paper. And that is why I am going to suggest coming up that we no longer have all this paper, that we can have these minutes sent to us via email. We all should have laptops up here so that we can have our laptops and all of us can look at the email instead of having all of this paper. There's really no need for all of this paper, because I don't have anywhere to put it, and I don't be keeping all this stuff. So we all should have laptops.
Our agenda should be on those laptops and emailed to every one of us. The agenda could easily be shown every week on the screen so the audience can look at it, and we can look at it via laptop and via email instead of all of this paper. So, don't ask me for any agendas, because I don't keep all of this. Have nowhere to keep it. So I do rely on the website to go look at minutes, go look at agendas, go look at ordinances. So hopefully whatever department is responsible for maintaining this paperwork, hopefully they are making it available online, because that's the only way I can see it myself. My public health and safety meeting is scheduled for March 29th, which is Friday, right here in the Rotunda. And let me see, I do believe that concludes my report. Thank you.
March 29th is what now? Okay. Trustee Jan? Okay. Trustee Carter? Okay. One quick thing. The agendas that we were talking about was not we were talking about the agendas that was talked about with the young man that came up and asked was not village agendas, the agendas of the committee meetings. And just want to say that we're going to have the Easter egg hunt be March 30th. That's on a Saturday at 12 o'clock, right at the community center. From ages 0 to 13. Every year we have it. We have looking for some more volunteers to help us do the chaperoning of some of the eggs when we put them down and help us clean at the end of that time. But it'll be from ages 0 to 13. I just was told today we have an influx of more baskets that's going to be donated to the village. So it won't just be, as we always did, a few baskets that if you open the eggs up, you get the little gold paper in there, you get a basket. I understand now it's going to be quite a few baskets given out, so I don't know how we're going to do it, but we'll find out a way, but still come out and enjoy yourself. That's all that I have right now, and I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing one of the vendors that we have under contract. Yes.
So how is that with you said possible litigation?
It's possible litigation.
Do we have one personnel?
I don't have anybody here that can sit in there.
I just have a quick question.
That's what I'm saying. You think I can answer?
Yes.
I mean, oh, so you want HR in there too? Because I'm not.
I just want to ask you something.
But I may not be able to answer. So who? He'd be in for the first thing, yeah. But he's not the person in for. But you said employment.
I'm sorry, there's a motion on the floor.
Okay. Okay. Okay, moved by trustee Burns, second by trustee Coleman. Madam Clerk. I guess you could. No. You don't want to go into executive session?
Trustee Coleman? Yes. Trustee Johnson? No. Trustee Sack? Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Burns? No.
We need closed session. I'm just telling you, well, if you got 3-2, if I vote, it'd be 3-3. No, I said I understand that. What else? Okay. 3 no's and 2 yes. Yes. So like I said, if I vote, it'll just be 3-3. But it is important, I mean, but no. If that was the case, then I wouldn't have done that. if we can do it next week. It is important, that's why I asked you all to quit talking about certain things, but I'll just put it this way. If we don't have the executive session, it will probably go to an emergency appointment. An emergency appointment.
All right, so the vote